We live in a world of conveniences, but this comfort has made us unprepared. We're sitting ducks for the unthinkable. And our ancestors knew how to sustain themselves. They grew their own food.
We were brainwashed to think that dandelion was makes your yard look a mess. Well, dandelion, by the way, is a really good herb for your kidneys. So we have to go back to our roots, and we have to take in the nutrition and the knowledge that we know that's going to sustain our life.
We have special guest speakers every single week, typically based on the 7 dimensions of wellness. So tonight is all about environmental and how can we support our environment, but also in terms help feed ourselves with how we treat our environment. So Shiobhan has got a great presentation. So we're going to do something a little bit different. It's not just about having a conversation. She will be presenting, the Growing to Give vision and some examples of some of the projects that she's done with Growing to Give. And then what typically happens is that we have an expert come on board, which our beautiful Dr. Roni will come in and give some feedback from a medical perspective. And I know this is really dear and near to her heart as well. As a naturopath, as a nutritionist, she always talks about how food is important, and eating as much raw food as possible will be extremely important for your health and well-being. So what better way to partner with a company like Growing to Give, that it's all about offering a solution on how you can grow your own food in a healthy way that also gives back to the earth. So I'm really excited about this partnership that's going to be happening. And then we're going to have our wonderful Claudia, who is a health and wealth advocate. She's a mom, she's a worker, she's an entrepreneur, very passionate about helping other people heal and helping them, live a great life. I know she's going to come up with some questions based on the everyday woman that might want to know, how can I get involved? So, and then we'll close the evening with some questions and answers. And if you have any questions that you have that you want to direct to Shiobhan later on, we'll make sure that we share the links, not only inside our Facebook group, but if you are sharing this out there to the world, make sure you know how to connect with Shiobhan afterwards. So if you're not a member of Feel Good, Share Good community, please join our community, because these are where we have these events every week. So on that note, I'm going to put the presentation over to Shiobhan. So I'm going to give you the spotlight.
Thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you to Dr. Roni, Feel Good, Share Good, and Gillian for giving me the opportunity to speak with you about a topic that's both sobering and inspiring: food insecurity. In fact, the title of tonight's talk is Empowering Food Security, the Power of Growing Your Own Food. I'm Shiobhan Shah. I'm the catalyst behind Growing to Give. This innovative, global reaching nonprofit provides unique, cutting-edge, sustainable agricultural systems and knowledge to low-income and climate-vulnerable communities. With me tonight are members of our team. Gillian, who is our chief strategist, and please say hello to Avery Johnson, our talented and dedicated marketing director. Our fundraising director, Con Kayak, lives in the Netherlands and can't be with us tonight because it's probably 3 a.m. there. On the call with us as well are Dion and Jessica from our nonprofit partners in Phoenix, Project Roots. At the end of this talk, we'll get some personal insights about food insecurity from them and through the community that they serve in Arizona. Food security is a topic that's really close to my heart, as I've had many years of growing food for the community, and I've discovered it's my life's calling. Nurturing is my authentic way of being. And so hands in the soil, caring for plants, watching the joy when harvest day comes and volunteers come out to help pick the bounty and load the food bank trucks makes my heart sing. It's so cool. And I believe that by the end of our discussion, you'll share my passion for it as well. Now, how many of us here have experienced food insecurity, those times when the month lasts longer than the money? Give us a thumbs up if you've experienced food insecurity. And I understand that maybe not many of us here have ever personally experienced that, but I'm here to shed a light on the realities faced by millions of people and to show you how we can make a difference together. You see, I believe that many of the troubles in the world can be solved if people just had enough food to eat. Crime can be a direct result of food insecurity. What wouldn't you do to feed your kids? Wars are fought over food. There's a few current examples that you probably have heard about in the news that you don't realize are wars over food. The conflict in Sudan, it has roots in land and water disputes essential for agricultural purposes. So it's between the nomadic herders and the sedentary farmers, and it's made worse by climate change and desertification. Then the civil war in Syria was partly preceded by a severe drought that led to food shortages and rural displacement, contributing to social unrest. And while the Arab Spring was primarily driven by political and social factors, issues related to food security, such as rising food prices and agricultural hardships, played a significant contributing role in fueling discontent and worsening existing tensions in several countries. Let's start by painting a vivid picture of what food insecurity truly means. This simple yet profound act of sharing is where our journey begins tonight. Not all kids grow up on farms. When this picture was taken, I probably could smell the freshly baked bread my mom often made for our after-school snack. But not all kids are so lucky. Not all kids have the assurance of a meal waiting at home. In fact, I co-chair a board of directors for a Uganda nonprofit called Kachini Gardeners, and they often have to leave school early to go and help on the small farms their parents work. They take all the produce to market and leave nothing for their family as the income is less than subsistence. It's our mission at Kachini Gardeners in Uganda to help get supplies to them with the help of Growing to Give and teach the children to grow greens in bags outside the doors of their rural homes so they at least have something nutritious to supplement their bean meals with. This reality, children going to bed hungry, is just the tip of the iceberg. Have you ever felt the pangs of hunger? A show of hands. Imagine waking up in the morning with an empty stomach, the gnawing feeling of hunger that doesn't go away. But there's no breakfast to fill the void. There's no pantry stocked with your favorite treats. This is the daily reality for far too many people, not in just distant lands, but right here in our own communities. 690 million. 690 million. According to the UN, that's the number of people worldwide who go to bed hungry. To put that in perspective, it's more than twice the entire population of the United States. Imagine every adult and child in the US going to bed hungry tonight, and then double that. Food insecurity exists right on our doorstep. People we know, people we pass by on the street, may be struggling to put food on the table. Food security is not just about having enough food, it's about access to safe, sufficient, and nutritious food for a healthy life. So what does this have to do with agriculture, farming, and gardening? Everything. Agriculture is the backbone of food security. What we grow, how we grow it, and where we grow it matters. That's why sustainable agriculture is a vital aspect of food security, and why nonprofits like ours are vital to building resilient communities and helping to address food shortages. The bigger picture of food insecurity is terrifying. Now imagine for a moment, if you will, a scenario where the trucks that bring our food to our cities simply stop running. It might sound like a plot from a dystopian novel, but it's a scenario we need to consider. We've all just lived through a world crisis, the pandemic. And some may have already forgotten about the long lines at the grocery store, the empty shelves, not us. There were times I could not find a can of tomatoes. How about you? Write your answer in the chat and we'll talk about it later. I was more worried about the food supply than I was about the toilet paper supply. Our modern food supply chain is incredibly complex, and it relies on a web of transportation networks, warehouses, and supermarkets. If that system were to break down, we'd find ourselves facing an unimaginable crisis. Gillian will tell you the ships stopped sailing to the Caribbean during the pandemic. Our Caribbean regional director, Renee Edwards-Ambrose, will confirm that. Empty shelves in our grocery stores, bare refrigerators at home, and a growing sense of panic. It's an apocalyptic scenario that's too terrifying to dwell on for too long, but it's not a fantasy, it's a possibility that's closer than you'd like to think. It's a real potential reality that we may face in the wake of an electromagnetic pulse, a world war, natural disasters, super volcanoes, a nuclear strike, internet failure, fuel shortages, and hyperinflation. We can't say it won't happen. Were you prepared for the pandemic? That, in the scheme of things, was mild compared to what we could face. Who right now has a month's supply of food in their home? 6 months? A year? Who could feed themselves and their family for 5 years? In the chat, just type how long you think you would last with the food in your house right now. Let's be real. We are woefully unprepared. So what's the solution, you might ask? It starts with becoming more self-reliant when it comes to food. We live in a world of conveniences, but this comfort has made us unprepared. We're sitting ducks for the unthinkable. And our ancestors knew how to sustain themselves. They grew their own food. John and I travel through what used to be the Oregon Trail often, and it makes me understand the hardship our ancestors and the settlers went through to make a good life in a new territory. There was no interstate, there was no Denny's, there were no Starbucks along the way. Growing our own food and preserving it is a skill we urgently need to relearn and pass the knowledge on to others. My husband, John Kendall, is the crop circle farm and garden and tomato volcano inventor, and he chose some close friends of ours to share the prototypes with to see how well they worked of the crop circle farm or crop circle garden. Donna Butler, my dear friend and partner on the Attitude Shift, a show we did together for almost a decade, always says yes to him. She and her family got an early version of the Crop Circle Garden. Now, let me tell you, they live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and have never gardened before. We shipped them the units, we gave them a shopping list, even the money to buy the soil and the container, and so on. And it's too long a story to go into details, but needless to say, they grew tomatoes. They were able to keep the plant alive and abundant. And it was even in their living room during the winter cold. They had so many friends and families come over to harvest. Since then, their youngest daughter, who is also on our board of advisors, Ellie, she chose to go to agricultural school and went on a scholarship. Donna and her other daughter and some friends of theirs were so inspired by learning to garden that they created a fashion line called Gardenling. You need to know how to grow your own food. Learning to grow your own food, even if it's just a few herbs on your windowsill, is an empowering step towards food security. Once you do this, you encourage others to grow their own food, and so on. People will follow your lead. They just need to be shown that it's a cool thing to do, and it's okay, even in an apartment block, a gated community, outside an office building. You be a food ambassador and promote the benefits of growing your own food. You don't need a vast backyard or acres of land. You can start small and expand gradually. And you need to learn how to grow high calorie, long storage survival food as a start. And this is all food that we've grown during the pandemic on a community farm in British Columbia. We grew 100,000 pounds of food. So you're gonna plant high calorie vegetables like squash, Hubbard squash, and butternut squash, which will last for months in a cool, dark storage. Pumpkin, and this is a giant Atlantic pumpkin. It was really big. Pumpkin's not a common vegetable for people to can at home, but it should be because it's high in vitamin C. It's good for the immune health and the eyesight. And it's just those pumpkin spice lattes that are high in sugar that you should go lightly on. And carrots, if Bugs Bunny likes them and they're good for him, they're good for you too. Corn is another one to grow. We grew thousands of cobs of corn for the food banks in BC during the pandemic, and it was a big hit. For a family of 4, you want to plant a minimum of 100 sweet corn seeds to get you through a winter. And we actually grew a double spiral of corn, and it was so cool to walk inside of this living cathedral of corn. And you can see the picture there. It was beautiful. The other, I'm going to call them survival foods that you should plant, are beans, peas, and lentils. Bush beans, like you see here, are really rich in protein and fiber, and it's a nutritious supplement to a person's diet. And we grew, these were yellow beans. We grew a lot of them. We had a 1/4 acre spiral of that. And these are green beans that were grown in what has become part of our Food Ambassador program kit. And this is one crop circle garden that grew 20 plants in a space about as round as my face, I suppose. And the first harvest, just the first harvest, was 15 pounds. That's what you see there. For added nutrition, variety, and of course dessert, you're going to need to grow fruit like apples. You've got to have pie, even if you're just trying to survive. Cherries, even melons, peppers, both sweet and hot to spice up your life. And this right here, and Dr. Roni, we were talking about this earlier, this is a 1/4 acre spiral growing bell peppers. And so that's probably about 100 feet by 100 feet, give or take. And in just one day, the Rotary Club, who was here, they netted 6,000 pounds for the food bank. And they left a whole lot on. And of course, peppers will grow and grow and grow, especially in Arizona. They'll grow for a couple of years for sure. And let's not forget the benefits of herbs. And I'm sure Dr. Roni will be able to tell us more about that later. And lots of fresh greens, like what we want to grow for the children in Uganda at Kachini Gardeners. And greens are so easy to grow. And once you cut them to use them, they'll regrow. So that's really cool. Now, to really take a bite out of hunger, and he'd already graduated from dinosaur kale to curly kale. I think he ate all the dinosaur kale. Anyway, to take a bite out of hunger and make sure we can survive an unimaginable scenario of no access to food from outside our communities, we need to talk about preserving food. And tomatoes are a great example of produce that has many uses. What you see here is a tomato volcano. That is one plant. That's an example of sustainable agriculture. And that is in John's mother's backyard. And with tomatoes, you can make sauces and salsas, stewed tomatoes, soup, and you can freeze dry them, dehydrate them, and preserve them for all the months when the climate isn't conducive to growing. Learning how to can, freeze, dehydrate your harvest is not only a practical skill, but also a way to plan for the future. You can enjoy the fruits of your labor, even in off-season, like plums, blueberries, beets. I pickled those myself. This is a friend who obviously had too much zucchini, so good old zucchini. And you probably all know the joke, keep your front doors locked, your car doors locked during zucchini season. And these are great ways to ensure that you have a steady supply of food. These pretty little packs of seeds won't be available, so saving seeds saves your life. Did you know that by saving seeds from your plants, you can create a sustainable cycle of growth? It's a simple yet powerful way to ensure that you have a continuous supply of fresh produce. Plus, it's a wonderful way to connect with the process of growing your food. Last, but certainly not least, always grow flowers to save the bees. I love taking photos of the bees on the farms and gardens. These are all my photos. This guy was loaded in pollen. And without them, all our efforts to become more sustainable, be a more food secure world will be for naught. Nada, nothing, zilch. No bees, no food, or very little food. So it's time for a food revival, and we need to grow everything we can, from fruit and nut trees to high-calorie survival foods like the beans and the corn and the squash and the potatoes that can be stored for long periods of time. We need to learn about tomatoes that can be canned, herbs for medicine, and the art of seed saving and swapping. Preserving and canning food is not just a skill, it's a legacy that we must pass on. And here's something very fascinating. When you grow your own food, you're actually helping to ease the pressure on the food system. Each homegrown tomato, each ear of corn represents one less item that needs to be transported, packaged, and sold in a store. It's a small but significant way to make a difference. And the last point for tonight, as this is a topic that can take years to cover, what is sustainable agriculture? It's a way of farming that cares for the land conserves resources like water and fertilizer and labor, and ensures the well-being of future generations. It's about being good stewards of the earth. We're talking about practices that make agriculture more sustainable, environmentally friendly, and efficient, like these crop circle farm spirals. This was the yellow bean spiral. This was a 1/4 acre. And as you can see, for sponsors, we can tag the spirals that can be seen from the air, which is very cool because that farm that this spiral was on a flight path. And we also had hot air balloons that would come over and just hover above the spirals as part of their tour. I have a lot of pictures of hot air balloons over the spirals. It was so cool. And this is the spiral that grew 2,000 plus pounds of yellow beans. And it actually regenerated itself after we thought it was done producing, because beans, harvest for 3 weeks and the plants die back and that's it. But we gave it a shot of water because I said, John, I think it looks like it's trying to grow again. It was trying to flower, and it was shooting up new leaves. And so we heavy watered it for a day, and then for another few weeks later, after we did that, we had another harvest. Not as big as the first, but we had a week or two of harvesting more beans. And what do you do if you're growing at home and you have excess produce? There's a lot of local food banks and soup kitchens that welcome fresh produce donations. So just call them and ask them if they're willing to take some. So imagine the joy of sharing your homegrown veggies with those in need. It's a beautiful way to give back to your community. We do. I know Project Roots do, Dion and Jessica, who are with us tonight. And during the pandemic, Growing to Give donated 100,000 pounds of fresh produce to local food banks. We had so much of things like peppers and tomatoes that they weren't used to getting that we had to expand our network up and down the valley. And the trucks would come in to the farm and they would load up. And it was just an amazing sight to be part or to witness, and an amazing event to be part of. So gardening and preserving food are not just about survival and sustenance, they're also about community. By sharing knowledge, seeds, laughter, and harvests, we strengthen our connections with our neighbors and our friends. We create a network of self-reliance and support that can withstand even the toughest challenges. So let's dream big. Imagine a world where everyone has access to fresh, healthy food, where food is grown on every empty lot, on every street boulevard. Community gardens are as common as coffee shops, and preserving food is a celebrated skill. A world where no child goes to bed hungry and every senior has access to nutritious meals. We have the power to create this world. And it starts in our backyards, on our balconies, and in our kitchens. It grows in our communities and it spreads across our nations with the help of loving and dedicated food ambassadors like you. It's a journey of 1,000 steps. It begins with one simple act, planting a seed. I want to leave you with this thought. Food is more than just fuel for our bodies. It's a bond that connects us to the earth, to each other, and to future generations. By taking steps to secure our food supply, we're not only feeding ourselves, we're nurturing hope, fostering resilience, and we're building a better world for everyone. As we conclude this session, I want you to think of that little boy and his classmates. That small act of sharing in the classroom needs to echo across communities, nations, and generations. Let's not just feed the hungry, let's empower them. Let's not just talk about change, let's cultivate it. Let's lead by example. Thank you for sharing your time, giving this topic your attention, and your willingness to be part of this vital movement we call the Growing to Give Food Ambassador Program. To learn more about it, reach out directly to Gillian, Avery, or myself. And thank you for being part of this movement. Let's get giving or growing to give, and let's start now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, Shiobhan. That was actually amazing. I don't know about you, but I've got goosebumps. And I know we have the queen of nutrition with us tonight. So I'd love, because this is the first time, Dr. Roni, you really got to see a full presentation. I've been talking to you about this for a few months, and I know the concept was there, but now that you've seen the scope of what they have, you haven't seen everything. That was just the icing on the cake when she showed today. But what is your thoughts?
Yeah, so I just want her to fly out tomorrow and start. How could you not be inspired to do something like this? Because you hear me say it all the time. We grew up like this. My grandmother, who lived in her hundreds, that's all she knew was farming and gardening, right? And there's just so many reasons to do this. And there's science reasons, there's politics, and there's longevity reasons. I mean, we want to be able to have a sense of community, but guys, there's science that says that we're living in a very sad times. Like, for an example, our medical food and science industry, they're just starting to understand food. I mean, we're in 2023, and our scientists are starting to understand the value of food at the level that we need. We don't need to keep opening up a can, a bag, or a bottle. We have to start growing our foods right in our homes, right in our backyards. And we got to stop pretending that this is so hard. Because if people used to do it way back when they didn't even have an education, we have to now understand that it's good for everything. Like, it's not only good for our physical health, but it's good for our mental health. It's good for our emotional health. It not only helps us burn calories, but we take in from the sun, the vitamin D. We not only are stopping the pesticides and the fertilizers and the toxins, but all of it together will bring a better community to the children today. If I told you some of the things that I'm seeing through the blood work, you will be amazed at some of these children have not just low vitamin D, but low vitamin E, low mineral status, low calcium. Some of them, their bones are not being developed the way it should be because of lack of nutrition. So we have to be able to stop pretending that this is so hard and start developing communities and start in our own backyard. I have to admit, I had some herbs like, cilantro and oregano and rosemary and all of these herbs in my backyard. It was so easy to grow. In fact, it was so easy to grow. Someone told us that we had to prune it. It was a mess. That's how easy it was to grow. But we've been so brainwashed. Like, we were brainwashed to think that dandelion makes your yard look a mess. Well, dandelion, by the way, is a really good herb for your kidneys. So we have to go back to our roots, and we have to take in the nutrition and the knowledge that we know that's going to sustain our life. I don't know about you guys, but I was really scared during COVID time because, I'm on this small island, and I went to the store and it was half empty. That sort of scared me. It's going to happen again. We have to be able to grow and sustain in our own backyard. That was a very good question. How long will it take you before you run out of food? Okay, I thought about that question. That's a very scary question. Okay, suppose we get through another lockdown and all we have is canned food. And by the way, what if we have no electrician? I mean, what if we don't have it? Can you open up that can? Can you open up the can of beans or the can of corn? So, or we're looking at something that's so real here. It's so real. 40 to 50% we lose nutrition in our vegetables and fruits today, guys. You know why? It has to go on a train, it has to go on a ship. I mean, our food is coming from overseas. 40% is coming from overseas. By the time it get to us, we wanted to have the same nutrition. We wanted to have good nutritional value in it. Well, it doesn't. And that's why when I see the blood work and I see a lot of nutritional deficiencies, that's why. So we have a lot of work to do. So when you coming?
I think spending the holidays in Martha's Vineyard would be really nice. I might have to bring some people.
Oh, yeah. Because they're serious here about that, you know, the resources, you know, we have two types of people. Like we have a lot of wealthy people that fly in the summertime, right? But they leave. And then we have the year-rounders, and we have a large percentage of people on this island that will go hungry if it wasn't for the food bank. People think that this whole entire island is wealthy. It's not true at all.
Yeah,
So
I thought it was a entirely wealthy
no,
community.
not true at
You would
all.
have definitely
It's
thought that.
the wealthy feeds, you know, when they leave, they make sure that everyone is well. But then again, I said when we had COVID, the stores were empty.
Yeah.
Transportation stops. When that happens, you have to go to your backyard.
So I think this is a great opportunity for every community, not just so the idea of going to Martha's Vineyard, it will get visibility for the nonprofit. However, every single community, and this is one thing I'm looking at doing when we get back to the island, is approaching the landowners and seeing whether or not they would donate, because I know, having lived through empty shelves, because in the small island in the Caribbean, we weren't getting access to the shipments because we were, you know, on the last of the totem pole. So, you know, we were fortunate to rely on the local farmers, which the land is very hilly. So having the option to grow food is not that great because it's not flat. But the thing is, with this program, the system, you can grow on the side of a hill. It doesn't have to be flat land. So this is why when you do some research with Growing to Give and what they do and the technology behind the systems, it opens up so many options for every community in the world could have a community garden, regardless of the terrain. Okay, so I just want you to think about that. So if you're in Arizona, if you're in a side of a mountain, you're in St. Lucia, you're in St. Martin, you know, if you're in an area where you believe that you don't have the capacity to grow, talk to Shiobhan, talk to Growing to Give. Her husband's brilliant. The technology is brilliant. And once you understand how it works, you're going to want to play. You know, this is a big picture. I know it's a big project, but I totally believe in what this is capable of generating. But it starts with us spreading the word and becoming ambassadors, you know, donating to the cause, helping us spread the word. Share this message to each and every one of you that's out there. If you know somebody that has land, you know, contact Shiobhan. It's just a matter of a quarter acre to start. It could be an acre, but if they have land to donate, that's the first gift. That's the first gift. That's all we need. And I just don't want you guys thinking about that. Not, well, what can I do? An introduction is sometimes all you have to do, right? So on that note, Claudia, your thoughts as a mom, as somebody that I know that's very into health and wellness. Okay.
I have a couple of questions that may be going through some of our audience's minds, and that's what I'm here for, because I was the one that shared the links, but I do want to make sure that we understand how we are best supporting. So there's a couple of things that are coming to me that I'm very excited. And one is that Shiobhan is actually saying, grow your own things, which is great. I actually started our own little garden 2 years ago, and my son got to see everything. Not only see it, he's the one that grew it. So Shiobhan, I just want to make sure that the messages are clear. So the first one was get your own garden, get your own food. And I love that. So that was the first message. Please confirm. And then the second one now is more the program, because you're teaching us two different things here, which is we can grow our own food. That's number one. And we can be a voice. And being a voice of the ambassador program for Growing to Give is another thing. But the one thing I'm also not clear about is can a regular person have access to the volcanoes, or even if somebody has an acre of land, can they grow to donate to their own community? And that's where Growing to Give will come and show. This is where I'm a little still kind of like looking for clearance on that. Like I'm confused. Can you clarify?
We work with community gardens and farms. We write grants and fundraise to help them strengthen the systems that they're using already. So things that are in place. We can come in and retrofit, or we can come in and start from the ground up and create a farm or a garden for the community that is low tech. It's basically plant and forget, and it grows high density, healthy plants. It uses 90% less water. It has virtually no water waste. So if you're in an area like Phoenix where there's drought or water restrictions, you'll still be able to grow food. We have some crop circle gardens at a community garden in Phoenix right now, and they're on a 3-minute-a-day timer. And it's still in the 80s here, and probably low 90s. The plants are thriving. Nobody's checking on them. They're growing out, starting to grow. They're, it's just amazing. So so that's the community garden side. We come in and we partner together, and we're stronger together, right? On the residential side, that's where the Food Ambassador program comes into play. So we've got the idea is, and we're just getting started with this, and we'll have a Facebook page, and you'll be able to get involved. And so we're just putting this together. So you guys are the first to really hear about this. So you can become a food ambassador with Growing to Give. And you can join as a social bee and buzz with excitement. So we'll get you a vibrant bee graphic that proudly proclaims that, I'm a food ambassador with Growing to Give. You can use it on your social pages. You can spread awareness about the importance of the program, as well as saving bees. And that's one way you can step into being a food ambassador. And then what our idea is that you can work your way up to getting what we call a food ambassador kit, which is 3 crop circle gardens. And then that's at $1,000 level. There's 3 of them. You can purchase them or work your way up into getting that, sort of basically getting credits, and by referring different people. And at that $1,000 level, you get 3 crop circle gardens. And we ask that you keep 2 and give 1 away. So that would be the idea, is always, if you buy something or make a donation and you get a food ambassador kit, that you actually give 1 away. And the same can work for the tomato volcanoes. There's a higher price to them because they're bigger. There's 2 different sizes. There's one for the community gardens that grow, thousands and thousands and thousands of tomatoes. And then there's one coming out that is just it's on wheels. It's really compact. It's really cute. And it's for your patios and your backyards. and that those will be coming out soon. So I hope I've explained that.
Yes,
Yes,
you
you
have, and you have cleared it up. But because, like I said, the thing is that you have been giving us so much information, which is great. I was like writing, I was like bees and canning, and so like it was so exciting to hear the whole presentation that I kind of got a little bit lost. And again, I am sharing the links, and because I've spoken to you before, I have a little bit of a better idea. But I can see like people can see this and they're like, what is the part that I play in this? Like I know, and then obviously what part can I play so that my family is safe for the next few years? Because since you started with that was the part that I don't mean to scare anybody, but it is scary. And Dr. Roni has been saying this for a long time, and this is why we're all coming together. So this is, I know people can actually also write us in the chat. If you're in Facebook Live, write us if it was not clear. I hope that now we have made it clear that there are so many options. And yes, you can have your own volcano, but yes, you can support by donating, but you can also donate land, and you can also, like, there's so many ways to help. And again, we haven't talked about that, but I did add in the chat. I'm sure Gillian will talk about the opportunity to give something for Christmas with the new store. So the last thing is, I love this part for our children, Shiobhan. So what do you have, like, where do children play a big part? Like, how can I get my child involved? Not only me, but they're the new generation. They're the ones who need to learn this. So do we send them to your website? Do you have a new program coming for them? There's just so much that you can be doing for that new generation that is coming, that is our kids.
That's a wonderful idea. In Kachini Gardeners in Uganda, they are able to work directly with the children right there in their neighborhoods. For us, we're a virtual organization, basically, unless we go to do projects. But our community garden partners, a lot of them have programs for children. So reach out to us and we'll put out a call to people like Dion and Jessica who are on here. And I want to get some comments from them before we leave about food insecurity in their region and how they deal with it. But there are probably amazing groups across the country and around the world, like Kachini Gardeners, that are teaching children to grow food, because that's where it starts.
Okay. Thank you so much. I want to give the mic to the partners so that we can hear a little bit from them. And thank you. I'm very excited about the future of Growing to Give. Thank you so much, Shiobhan. Thank you, Gillian.
Thank you. All right. So I just thank you for I just was looking for Jessica. I can't see Jessica in the view, so I would like to bring her up to help you, Shiobhan. I know Dion, but Dion, you're here, you're on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, Jessica is working on a tower garden in our backyard right now in our homestead. So that'll tell you, like, we have seedlings like getting ready to die if we don't get these tower gardens up and going. So she had to excuse herself, but what a wonderful presentation. And I really just want to thank you so much for having us. And just a rich conversation. So Project Root started about in 2019, right before the pandemic happened. We lost a family member in our family to kidney issues, and it was lack of access of food. She was a very, very healthy person. That person ended up passing away. We had an idea to grow tomatoes, so a lot of our Project Roots and Grow to Give's mission is similar. And even the food that we were planting and growing is so similar. I feel like we're cousins in this food access world. And then to be affiliated with community gardens in Arizona is just wonderful. So I'm very excited just to be a partner with Growing to Give. And so during the pandemic, we got a contract with the food banks for $99,000. And we weren't growing that many tomatoes. So we had to bring in other partners and other farmers that were socially disadvantaged. So Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, Caucasian women, veterans, anyone that had a social disadvantage, LGBTQ, maybe a Caucasian man, but is on Social Security and doesn't make a lot off of his farm, but makes a lot off of his garden. And so that's called like aggregation and bringing people together. And we saw that in the community of Phoenix and Glendale, we were stronger together. So all these backyard gardeners and a few farmers kind of got on board to this CSA style model, which is community supported agriculture, right? Where you grow a little bit of this and you grow a little bit of that and we put it all into this box. And long story short, I can talk all day about it. But that's really what Jessica and I do here at the Arizona Community Hub. Project Roots is a beneficiary of aggregation, technical assistant, local food movement in Arizona. We've only started just a year ago, and we've already have about $225,000 worth of contracts that are backed by the USDA for BIPOC and socially disadvantaged farmers, for food to be moved in BIPOC and socially disadvantaged communities. And so we're working with food producers, backyard gardeners, everybody that you heard about today. You don't have to have all of these acres of land to grow food. We're working with them to say, hey, let us buy it. Let us purchase it at fair market prices. Let us help you buy that cooler or that washing station in your backyard that you need for your garden, or those tower volcanoes, tomato volcanoes, or growing circles. Like, how can we help you get there just by growing food? So I'm sure there may be questions, but I just wanted to give space and gratitude to Shiobhan for just having us here. And I'm really looking forward to just partnering with you more, your organization, and really learning how we can be more advocates to the work that you're doing, because it really, really aligns with Project Roots. I will say one last thing. We distributed 500,000 pounds from year 2020 to 2023 just by Project Roots alone, by growing on a ½ acre of land. So thank you very much.
Do it.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. That is awesome.
Just real quick, for anyone who is interested in learning about the know-hows and what Growing to Give is up to next, or is interested in like our future webinars, I truly encourage everyone to follow us on social media. You can check in the chat where our handles are located, or you can visit our website and our handles are there as well. But I really appreciate everyone coming out. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Avery. And I'm very proud of this this group of individuals that showed up tonight. I'm happy to be part of the team, but I also want to make sure that you guys can follow. I've already shared inside the Feel Good Share Good community the actual group. So if anybody wants to join the group, you know, a lot of details are going to be in there. The links are already shared inside the Feel Good Share Good community. We are still live right now, so please make sure that you go there, follow. If you want to reach out to Shiobhan, like all the links of how to contact her are inside the Feel Good Share Good community. So before we close out tonight, I want to just call out, and thank you to Claudia for helping out as always for her Girl Talk Real Talks. And she does actually have a website. You can go follow Claudia as well at Grow Daily for Life. But you can also follow Dr. Roni. Dr. Roni has her website, drronideluz.com, and she's eagerly going to be supporting people on getting health and wellness with her retreats. She does do retreats the last weekend of every month, with the exception of December, because it's Christmas. But if you want to book a retreat, you know, please do so. Martha's Vineyard is the place to be, and eventually there's going to be, you know, we're going to have a spiral there, I think, eventually. And we're also booking with Dr. Roni, our online program for her detox is going to be happening in January. So stay tuned, go to the website soon. There's going to be a Black Friday special going on for that as well. So thank you again for Growing to Give. Thank you, Shiobhan. So there's this beautiful lady over here on my screen. Her name is Carol Myers. She's going to be our guest speaker for next week. Okay, so Carol, do you want to share with us tonight what you're going to be sharing with us for next week?
Yeah, I'm taking us in a little bit of a different direction, but a direction that I think is very important, and that's on authenticity. So being the real us, but more importantly, how to find the real us. So I won't say too much more, but it'll be interesting.
Yes. And for those who, like Carol and I had a lasting, wonderful professional relationship. We used to work together, and she's a beautiful soul. And I know you're going to love next week's presentation. So please come back next week. And I will be doing some interviews and finding out more candidates of people that might want to become a guest speaker. So please reach out to me if you're looking to become a guest speaker. If you have a topic that you can present in half an hour that is typically wellness related and if you understand the 7 dimensions of wellness, as long as it's focusing on doing something good for your body and for the environment and your spirit or emotional, if you have an expert that you know of that would be a great guest speaker, please message me, because we're starting to fill up our calendar, but I'd love to be able to offer the opportunity to others to spread the word of feeling good. When you feel good, guess what? You share good, right? Okay. Thanks, everybody. And I'm going to close out for the night. And thanks again for a great topic. And thank you. Enjoy your evening, everybody.
Night.
Thank you.
Night
Thank you,
all.
guys.